Good afternoon and welcome to Legacy After the Locker Room. My name is Kayla Bradham and I am so excited to be here with today's guest, NFL alumni, Dr. Ray Perkins. Good afternoon, Ray.
How are you doing, Kayla and listeners? Legacy After the Locker Room. It's a pleasure to be here today amongst you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you here because I love your story, Ray. It really is about inspiring hope and possibility through sports. And man, if there was ever a guy to do it, you are that guy. So thank you so much. Let's start by asking you to tell us your story. It's an interesting story.
Right.
Doctors told your mom he's not going to play sports.
Yes, kids. I come from humble beginnings, and I'm old, so going to go all the way back. I don't have that much time on the show, but I had a very interesting story that I was able to had to tackle 3 challenges in my life. No pun intended with tackling. I was a defensive player. So September 25th, 1965 is the stage, Richmond Memorial Hospital, and at that time, fathers were not allowed into the delivery room with newborn babies as a child's being birthed. The doctors came to my father as my mother had a heck of a time trying to deliver me, and he asked father if he had to make a choice. My father said, "Choice? What do you mean?" He said, "Either you or your newborn child to be is not going to make it. So you're going to have to choose." And so my family being a family of faith, my father knew what exactly to do with that. He got on his knees, began to pray, and grace be to glory God. Both my mother and I was in a different situation. And the story doesn't end there, Kayla. So I had another challenge I had to tackle. So when I was born an asthmatic, and I had pneumonia as well. And we know that that combination at birth for an infant could be fatal. Both of my parents, again, got down on their knees again to pray, and I was looking for that situation. And the story gets more interesting. So the third obstacle I had to tackle, when I was born, I could not walk. I was born crippled. And so I have a size 17 shoe. I have skinny legs and skinny ankles, but I've been able to run very fast. And I was living that situation as well because I didn't have a normal childhood. So the asthma did not go away. And so doctors actually discouraged my parents from allowing me to participate in athletics. So just by me being able to have a temporary platform in NFL was still a God thing because again, at the age of 7, they told my parents that I was never going to be able to have a regular childhood, that I would not be able to go out and play with my friends, be able to go out and do sports because not only am I asthmatic, I was also allergic to grass. And so I had to do the allergy shots every 2 weeks. And I had to have them. They didn't have inhalers back then, but I took theophylline. And I took theophylline. That's how they treated asthma back then. And I was taking it at toxic levels, 1,200 milligrams to say. And I am here to say that God blessed me. I played football for 18 years. Never once did I have a asthmatic related incident.
Okay, so let's recap this for our viewers. You're born without the ability to walk, right?
That's correct.
You have asthma.
Right.
I guess I'm just blown away right there because it's hard to get to the NFL. Like, I get that there's 2,000 players every year, but to get that far for somebody who's healthy, capable, talented is bragging rights, Ray.
Yeah.
How did you get into the NFL?
It's a God thing. Like I shared with you, the challenge that I had to address and deal with. And so most children, they dream about being a professional athlete. That was not my dream because I was unhealthy. I remember being hospitalized one time when I was in the 3rd grade for up to 30 days. Almost had to repeat the 3rd grade because my asthma was that severe. So as a child, I did not dream of becoming an NFL player. It wasn't until I was able to get into high school and been able to play, and college coaches started to come around to my high school and recruit me, and that became a possibility and a reality for me. But again, it's all a God thing. I'm not sharing these things to make me look better than what I am. I'm very humble, and I want to recognize, give it the glory and grace of God because it's a God thing. Without Him, there's none that's possible. So my mother, talking about speaking NFL, she actually saw my treating pediatrician not that long ago. And he asked her, he said, so how was your son doing? He was very sick. We were really concerned about him. She said, well, did you watch the game, the Dallas Cowboys game the other day? And he was perplexed, like, well, why? I'm asking about your son. Why are you asking me about the Dallas Cowboys? She said, well, my son plays football for the Dallas Cowboys. And he said, your son? And she said, yes. And she quoted him my favorite passage of scripture, Matthew 19:26, with man, with man, it's impossible. With God, all things are possible. So all things are possible for those that believe. And that's what I'm here to share today, from that message of hope and from that posture. So less of me and more of him. It's all about the grace and glory of God.
I love it. I love it. So you started getting noticed as a junior and senior in high school, went to college in Virginia.
University of Virginia. Not Virginia Tech. We
there
don't
you
like
go. There you go. I got that. How did you get drafted? What did that selection look like for you?
So I did not get there. I was a free agent. And so I was again, had to go through you're waiting by the phone, undrafted, and then getting the call and going to Dallas. And it was awesome that I had a chance to go there because it was a perfect place for me because I was a free agent. I was able to play with the likes of Randy White, Ed Too Tall Jones. I was his backup, Jim Jeffcoat. And so back then, there was no plan B free agency where teams or players can actually leave teams. If you're a Dallas Cowboy, you're a Dallas Cowboy for life. And that's kind of how that was. And so they were aging. I was able to go in there and be able to play on that team as a 20-year-old rookie.
That's crazy. I love it. And so through this experience between high school, college, the NFL, tell us, who's the best coach that you had, Dr. Ray Perkins?
Well, the thing is, and I'm biased because I grew up in Washington Redskins country. My father's a Washington Redskin, Richmond, Virginia. He's a Washington Redskin fan, but I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan because I've always liked Tom Landry. They were known as America's team back then, and because they were always classy. They could be down, we talk about Roger Stover, they could be down 15, 21 points, and they were always end up coming back. That's just kind of how things were. They kind of, I guess you kind of rate them, you can kind of relate them to kind of very similar what Tom Brady has done this day and age with his success, but they were always classy. And so Tom Landry was a great man. He was not only a coach, I would walk him through Bible study or pregame sermons in their chapel, and guess who's leading that? Tom Landry, the head coach.
That's crazy. That is something that I did not know, that I'm just blown away by. When I read that on your bio, I was like, oh my gosh.
A lot of respect. I mean, I used to have, I'm dating myself again. Growing up, I had those little electric football men, and a board where you're just vibrating, others running around. So I had all of the Dallas Cowboys. And we'd be blessed opportunity to go in and guys that I actually grew up watching and had them electric football. I knew who they were. I was a fan of theirs before I even met them. So
that's great. So started with the Cowboys.
Yes.
Played a little bit in the CFL, right? Came back to Arizona.
So I was signed with the Dallas Cowboys in 1987. I went up to Canada and played for the Edmonton Eskimos in 1988. Came down with the Browns in 1989 and ended up coming here with the Cardinals. And so my career was a short career due to injury. I've had 7 knee surgeries and just had my second rotator cuff surgery. So, with Tom Brady and Drew Brees playing in the 40s is phenomenal. And I'm not taking anything away from that at all. They're quarterbacks. As a lineman, I was a defensive lineman. There's only one person who's played for 20 years, and that's Jackie Slater, who played for the Rams. As a lineman, it's every single play. Every single play, you're butting heads to someone. Practice are the worst. Because practice, there's no one checking you out. When I played, there's no one checking you out for a concussion, but it's every single play. And I guess one collision on the football field can be the equation of having a car accident, but you have multiple car accidents throughout the course of the day. As a lineman, you have a 4-hour practice. Imagine how many interactions that you have going against an offensive lineman. Every single snap, whether it's a pass play or rim play, there's still contact.
Well, and let's just take 1 second to break out here. Remind our listeners they're
Yeah,
listening to The Legacy After the Locker Room. My name is Kayla Brad. I'm here today with former NFL player
yes,
Dr. Ray Perkins, talking about his story of creating hope and possibility through
yeah,
sports. We are powered by Stables Media in partnership with the Sports Philanthropy Network.
yeah.
Ray, speaking of the Sports Philanthropy Network, one of our big agendas that we are involved with is concussion and player safety.
Yeah.
Have you seen a change from the time you were in high school? And again, not to date yourself, but it is important. Is concussion and athlete safety, is that getting better?
I would say it has gotten. That's why you have a Tom Brady playing in this at 43, just won his seventh Super Bowl championship. You have Drew Brees is playing quarterback in his 40s. So the equipment, the technology, the techniques, the coaching has definitely progressed, and that's a good thing for player safety. And the biggest thing is at the lower levels with the education. I know a lot of teams now to eliminate that the head and take the head away in competition. Excuse me. A lot of teams have adapted. Hog tackling comes out of Seattle where the head is taken out of the tackle, right? And I know there's a lot of things, a lot of techniques for linemen now hits of football. Now they're playing more with hands as opposed to the helmet and the shoulder pads. So those things have evolved, and I really appreciate it. And the equipment is much better as well. I remember playing Pop Warner football, and even in high school, when a person's helmet cracked.
Yes.
It's like, okay, yeah, yeah.
You
So
know, that's interesting you say that, because former Chicago Bears Doug Plank is coming up on the podcast, and he has the same story playing in the NFL with a cracked helmet. Like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to believe. But when you talk about, one of the greatest safeties
yeah,
that ever played the game,
yes.
so his helmet's cracked, right?
Doug cracks some helmets too. Doug was
Oh my
a
gosh.
very
Wow.
Chicago Bear. Feared. He was revered by many.
Yes. Yes. So let's transition just a little bit, if you don't mind. I love your story of being an overcomer and really claiming that victory.
Yes.
But it didn't end with the NFL, and that's the whole point of why I do what I do,
Yes.
because you have an amazing story. What happened after the NFL?
Sure. So again, I'm blessed and thankful that God gave me a platform temporarily for me to be able to get in front of young people and adults and to be able to share my story. The thing is, without that platform, even though it's temporary, I wouldn't have that ability to be out and touch other people's lives. So I'm very thankful for that. So I have always, even when I was playing as a child, when I played basketball at our church basketball, I coached the team and played on the team. I've always wanted to give back. I grew up in a neighborhood where I got to see, my parents, they've been married for 60 years, but we had one car and we used to put all my friends in there. And 7 people were driving in the car to go do the Pop Warner football or go play in the basketball leagues and those kind of things. And I've always wanted to give back. And so when I retired, I began working at a place with the underserved population. I don't want to say at risk because we're all at risk for making this mistake. It only takes 5 seconds for you to make a mistake. So I want to always give back. I worked at a place called the Arizona Boys Ranch. It was formerly the Arizona Boys Ranch. Now it's called Kane State Academy. And the legendary Frank Kush, coach with the Colts, coach at ASU, they were involved in hiring me out there to coach football, basketball, track. And we work with kids from all walks of life. Kids that have been involved in gangs, kids that have been abused, all walks of life. I grew up there, Kayla. I grew up there as a man, developed my education philosophy. And my education philosophy is this: given the correct set of circumstances and situations, any child can be successful. Let's make that for adults, because same thing. Given the correct set of circumstances and situations, any person can be successful. And a lot of times when I go to speak, people say, "Oh, well, I have this. I was born a child of alcoholic parent. I have this. We're grown poor, whatever." And I say, "Well, you know, If I was to spend the night in the garage, would that make me a car? And they were laughing. That's a silly analogy. Well, what you're sharing with me, just because here are your circumstances, which we all have, does not mean that you stop. And another analogy I would always use, if we're playing football, and if I was to get tackled, if I was to fall, and I laid there and didn't get up, and they played the game around me for the next 60 minutes, how silly would that look? Well, in life, sometimes we take a blow and we stop. I'm saying, don't stop, get up, retool, and get going after it. Try again. The Bible talks about a righteous man falls 7 times, right? But he still got up. He still got up. He's still righteous. We have to continue to get up. And so I began working at a place called Arizona Cardinals, and I worked with the underserved population for 12 years, Caleb. After that, when I left, I wanted to go to a more traditional setting. I went to Phoenix Christian. My ex-wife and I, she's deceased. She passed with breast cancer January 28, 2019. We still want to work with that type of child. So I formed a foundation called Positively Speaking, and that was raised to work with. And we started that program, that foundation, to work with the underserved population. I used to see 1,000 kids a summer. And again, I did a celebrity golf tournament to pay for the proceeds to take kids away to camp. You're talking about kids from the city that have never been to the mountains, never gone horseback riding, right? Never been to a college facility, a pro facility, and gave them those experiences so that I can get them out there in environments so they can see, they can get up, and they can aspire to do something else that we saw going on around them in their neighborhood. I dared them to be successful. Dare for me is an acronym. We have to dream the impossible dream, stay activity centered, have respect, and education is the key that unlock every door. You know?
I'm blown away, and I'm listening to every word you said on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'm still back with, I lost my ex-wife to cancer a bit ago. I had mentioned to you previously, and shout out to Striker. Striker, if you're listening to this podcast, I was so blessed to be down at the Super Bowl and meet one of my heroes, 14-year-old Striker, who just entered the maintenance phase of leukemia. Striker, everyone at Stables Media is cheering for you. I'm praying for you from Wisconsin. Ray, would you please speak to us with a message to anybody who has a loved one dealing with cancer right now, or maybe even folks who are going through that situation themselves?
Well, I stand with you, Striker. I will share with you to stay encouraged. Stay encouraged. I am a cancer survivor. I was afflicted with cancer. October 23rd, 2013, I had prostate cancer. So I have 7 years running. I'm a cancer survivor. And it's all your mindset and your faith. And you have to remember, there's going to be some good days, some challenging days, but you got to understand that you can do this. And there's people along with you. And watch who you have in your camp as well. I didn't allow anyone to come see me in the hospital at my home if they did not have a message of hope in their mouths. And we're going to beat this, right? We can beat this. So Striker, anyone else out there who maybe has cancer or knows someone that's battling cancer, be encouraged and stay positive. Continue to love on them. And there are going to be some great days, and there's going to be some not so great days. They're going to need you not only during the great days and not so great days, they're going to need you afterwards as well, after they continue their treatment, whatever they have to do. I chose to have surgery. They're going to still need your support because it is a journey. I consider my cancer, Kayla and listeners, as a gift. God gave me a gift. And I say he gave me a gift, and not for me to keep it to myself, was to give it away to others. That I have a testimony that I can share this message of hope, that it does not have to be the end. And I would say I have a better quality of life because of that. Because I'm 55. A lot of people get jibber, oh, you're old. Like, no. My son always calls me old man. Like, no, I'm still on this side of the flowers. I want to pick them every single day. I want to enjoy sunrises and sunsets. I love birthdays because it's much better than the alternative. I say I have 45 more good years on this earth and then I'm going home.
And I think that is the message, right? Like it's all about the mindset. People can choose every day to be a victim or a victor. I've
Yes.
shared many times my story of physical, sexual, emotional abuse as a
Yes.
child, being a trauma survivor.
Yes.
And it really is at some point you just have to make a decision. And that's not easy and it's not fair. I get it. It's not fair. Nobody asks for that. But we can choose to live our lives in a way that really does bring glory to God and encourages our community. And you are a great example of that. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bill, thank you for having the courage to run this program and for you being transparent. That's what this is successful because you're real. Talking about keeping it 100, that's keeping it 100. That's it right there. You have to be real. What people are looking for, especially this day and age, with everything we have going on in this world, we're looking for something to gravitate towards that's real, right? If you want to know what a person really thinks, how they really feel about you, stick around after you ask them a question, how they're doing. Right? Some people will let you in, some people will throw up the shield, right? Or some people don't even take the time to even check in with you to see how you're doing. They just move right along. But this is real.
You're so right. And let's talk about keeping it real.
Yeah.
If people want to follow you, reach out to you, connect with you, find out a little bit more about what you're doing in the community, Dr. Perkins, how can they find you on social media?
So yeah, Facebook, Ray Perkins. That's it. It's a private account, but if you send a friend request, I'll take a look and see the kind of things you're working on. I'll be glad to accept you. I mean, that's very easy, especially you're a listener and you're chime in today and allow me to share my gift and Kayla to share her gift with you all. That's awesome, and especially so. I have a couple platforms. I have my foundation for 9 years. So now I loan my name and likeness to others. So anything working with young people, anything in relation to cancer, okay, and anything feeding the homeless, I'm all about it, right? Because those are that's my passion. That I want to give back. I want to make a difference in this world. I want people to recognize that I was here and I was a person about God's business and not to accumulate. I want to give. The way I see how this thing works, Kayla, in the end, when I'm done giving away my gift is when I get to go home in eternal rest, right? There's a bumper sticker that says, he that dies with the most toys wins. That is so wrong. That's so wrong. If they made a bumper sticker in my life, like when Ray has exhausted all of his resources, is when he has won.
So true.
Other people. Yes.
So speaking of the opportunity to help people, and we've been talking for quite a while about even getting you on the show. First of all, taking great care of your mom and dad. Family's important to you.
Yes.
Being a cancer survivor, helping others with cancer. Let's do a shout out, if you don't mind, about the COVID vaccine.
Great.
And I know you weren't going to get it, right?
Yes. So,
do you mind sharing that?
So as an educator here in Arizona, I'm working to do part 1B because right now our school has been, I didn't share after football. So after football, I retired and I began a teaching coach career at the Arizona Boys Ranch. Did that for 12 years. I continued on to Phoenix Christian Junior High School for additional 2 years while I was going back to school to get my master's, because why I went back to school to get a postgraduate degree, because I want to be involved in making decisions. Excuse me. I got some decisions being made. I think they're in the best interest of kids, of all kids. I'm all about inclusive. We mentioned about the special needs population and minorities. I want to make decisions inclusive for all. So I put myself in a leadership position, but I had to have my master's degree. I graduated that in 2004 and gave my doctorate of philosophy in 2006. So I've been involved in education post the locker room, 32 years. I'm a high school vice principal, and I served as an adjunct professor at Grand Canyon University teaching graduate studies to adults for 10 years. And so I say all to say this, the gift that we're talking about, I had to become more in order to be able to give back. Put myself in a situation where I could become a leader because of education. So did I answer your question, Kayla? Or do you want me to elaborate a little more?
No, you did. And let's speak to that because we both have, sort of found an education path to really make a difference in our communities, right?
Yes.
So you're working as the vice principal of a school in Arizona.
Yes.
Okay. NFL to vice principal.
Yes.
First of all, those kids have to just love that story. Like, I get to go to school and I get to see a man who played in the NFL every day. How has that impacted you? How has it encouraged you? And what struggles have you had?
Well, I love young people and I love giving back. So you are an educator yourself. You have the privilege of having your kids every single day for 180 days. As an administrator, I don't have a chance to cultivate those kind of relationships because I don't see them every single day. But I put myself in line to be seen every day. So I don't have to, but I go out on campus. I'm very visual. I'm on campus before school, chopping up with young people. Lunchtime, chopping it up with them. And then after school, I'm in charge of athletics activities and facilities. I see them perform in a drama and a play, and I see them perform in athletics. And they love to see you there. They love to notice that you're there. They play a game on me, and I always will joke back with them. It's important for me to know their name, right? They want me to know their name because that is important. And I do my very best. When you have a school of 3,000, it's hard to remember all of their names, but I know who they hang out with. I know what it's at lunchtime. I know the activities they're involved with, but that's very important to them. And it needs to be important to others because, again, we do not know the story behind the eyes. You share some things about yourself that unless a person knows your situation, they will not know. There's all sorts of circumstance situations I share with you, given the correct set of circumstance situations, my education philosophy that any child or any adult can be successful. My job is to get to know that story because I can't help you if I don't know your story. And so my goal is to get to meet a new student every single day. When I see a student sitting outside and eating by themselves, I will go and introduce myself to them. I will connect them with some other peers and allow them to come over, right? I always try to meet a new person on campus, a new family on campus. I always try to meet them and let them know how important that is, and then also to send them the direction where they need to go. You had asked a question earlier about the COVID vaccine. So I got sidetracked sharing you an educator that I was able to get inoculated because in Arizona, it's considered 1B, we were able to get the shot. Initially, I was not going to get the vaccination just because historically some things have happened here in this country, and I thought it was kind of thrown together a bit prematurely. So I had some reservations. But my mother is currently in long-term care. She had 2 strokes since June, and at age 83, she ended up contracting COVID. She's still with us. She had to go to the hospital and had to get oxygen. She's back now in long-term care. So I said, I'm going to actually get the COVID vaccination. And I had my second vaccination yesterday. No side effects. If we're going to go back to school, I want to make sure that I'm protecting also too, I'm protecting others. We wear our masks, not for other people, wear our masks for ourselves. So I thought it would be a great responsibility for me to get the COVID vaccination and to walk it and walk it like I talk it, right? That we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm just going to put a little plug in there and publicly say I made a decision not to get the COVID vaccine because I felt there were people who were more at risk than myself. However, we know that there is disparity in our communities. I live in Milwaukee. I know that as a white woman, it's easier for me to get the COVID vaccine based on location, based on transportation,
Yeah.
things like that. So, to all of our listeners, this is a public message from me in partnership with John Pointer, who played for the Green Bay Packers during the strike, and all of the work that he is doing to ensure that all people, regardless of race, economic status, have fair and equal access to
Yeah.
protection and health care. I'm asking my community to reach out and make sure that your neighbor
Yeah.
or your children's grandma has access. If you have to drive someone over to the pharmacy to get a vaccine, be that good person and do that.
Well, COVID is not discriminated. Actually, in the minority community and Hispanic community, actually was hit the hardest, and that could be just from accessibility standpoint. The inequities in healthcare. I don't want to get on a political soapbox, so that's not what I'm about. I'm about making it better. We know what the issues are. Let's make it better. But I
Yes.
know that the commissioner, an NFL commissioner, he's actually come out. So I have a vaccination right here at the Cardinals Stadium that made all the NFL, 32 NFL stadiums available as a hot site for people to go get vaccinated at a higher rate. And so if you're in those categories that you're able to get vaccination, I would encourage you to do so. I know I like the direction that president is going, that again, he wants to have a million vaccinations a day so we can cover everyone and we can start herd community. We can get back to doing the things we know would do. With children going back to school, people going back to work, and our economy going in the right direction. And this vaccine, this disease, virus, does not discriminate. It's going to take all of us, whether Republican or Democrat, if you're a minority or Caucasian, we all have to come together to be able to defeat this.
And I thank you for that message. I feel the same way you do. It's not political.
Mm.
It's honestly not even religious, except for this: love your neighbor. Take care of your neighbor.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that great message. One more thing, I guess actually two, because I'm going to ask you for a short 1 minute of hope and encouragement to everybody listening to the podcast. But before we do, I'm going to take just a moment to try to spread a little joy, a little hope, a little encouragement. Ray, I ask every guest who comes on Legacy After the Locker Room to partner with me to help Special Olympics with an autograph donation. And I'm going to do the same thing for you, put you on the hot seat. Ray, would you please make an autograph donation in partnership with Legacy After the Locker Room to Special Olympics?
Absolutely. First of all, an autograph is part of it. I've never ever once charged for an autograph. I don't do that. That's my responsibility for me to go out and serve the community. Again, I'm not a high dollar guy. I was a blue collar guy, right? And had a temporary platform, but yet still, I found that as part of the responsibility. I would love to partner with you and to autograph the ball for you for Special Olympics. The young people of Special Olympics are truly godsend. They are a gift. A couple of things that when I was in high school, that time to tell this story.
You sure do. You sure do.
When I was in high school, I was selected by the teachers and administrators in my school. Not each senior. Some seniors were selected to teach a class for the day. And I was selected to work with the special needs population. And this is 1983. And at that point in time, back east, they actually kept the special ed population in the boiler room downstairs, down by the boiler room. So basically, they were out of sight, which is just awful. And I went there not knowing what to expect. And the students taught me how to make congealed salad, fruit and jello. And I had the best time of my life. So I continued that line of work. So when I became an administrator, I actually oversaw special education at my high school. We formed the Best Buddies Club, where you had a general ed students that had special needs, and they had their buddies, and we had parties and recognition of those kind of things. And since I was in charge of activities and facilities at our assemblies, homecoming, pep rallies, they had the best seats in the house. No one messes my special needs kids. Yeah, they were a part of our program, everything that we did. Even now, I'm my 5th year at my school, and birthday is a big to me, as I shared with you, as a cancer survivor. I look forward to the next day. My office is decorated with birthday wishes from the special needs population. Those are truly, truly, truly special people. Really love them.
I love it. And I want to say thank you for
Yeah.
making a difference. I think the idea that your office is decorated the
All right.
way that it is says so much about your character. And speaking of character, as we sort of close out the podcast,
Yes.
I want to give you just a moment to shout out the people that you need to shout out that have made a difference in your life, and also a word of encouragement to our listeners.
Oh, wow. First, grace and glory to God. Again, He is the author and perfecter of my faith. I thank Him for giving me a path and giving me a direction on where I need to be every single day. And I was blessed with some tremendous parents. My parents were married for 60 years. Raymond Robert Lewis Perkins, my father, retired Marine Corps vet, fought in Korea, has been disabled all my life. And my mother, Mariah Brown Perkins, even though we cannot physically see her because she's in long-term care, at 83 years young, she had suffered those 2 strokes. She knows that we love her every single day. With the phone calls we do on the weekend, and my sister back east sends care packages. I've been also blessed to have some tremendous coaches. I've had some coaches from Pop Warner to care for me. Mr. Beard, who's still living, Mr. Paul Walker, Mr. Walker, who is deceased. Lou Anderson, my high school coach. George Welsh, the late George Welsh, Hall of Fame coach, at the University of Virginia, and I've been played for some great coaches in college as well. I mean, in the pros as well. Again, I shared about Tom Landry, James Stallings, but people that made a real impact in my life. The associate athletic director who's still there at the University of Virginia, Mrs. Jerry Capone, and Coach Danny Roman just took a special interest in me, and Art Marcos, and the strength and conditioning coach John Gamble. They helped grow me. Again, I graduated from high school when I was 17. And so my first year, and it was in the NFL at the age of 20. So I could have grown for another year of emotionally, socially, and spiritually, uh, every single way, being on campus, or college campus, and also then in the pros as well. So I had some great mentors. A lot of people have, they've taken that 5, 6 and got redirected. I'm blessed that I've never been in any trouble at all because of the mentorship. First, God, my mother and father, and those college coaches there aligned with the values my parents raised us up on. And my sister. I have a big sister. If you have an older sibling, sometimes you might not necessarily appreciate the guidance and direction. My big sister is awesome. She's been the rock of our family, especially now. She's 58 years young, retired administrator, 27 years, and she has been just tremendous. I really appreciate. I love them. So I have great, and I have some great friends. Some whom are watching today. Stuart Mines, my college roommate. All 4 years. Typically, you don't make it 4 years with your college roommate, but Stu is quite different. We grew up rivals in Pop Warner in high school. We decided we're going to go to college together, a friend. So I was having blessed with some great friends for life. I really have been, because you never know. You never know. Some people go to college and they meet their spouse. Some people go to college and you meet friends of life. And I've been blessed with some true friends of life. And John Birch is also a great friend of mine who continued here with the Cardinals. He's a captain of the Glendale Fire Department. So I've had some great people in my life. If you want to show me your future, show me your friends. That's what I always tell the young people. Who's in your camp?
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Reminding our listeners for the last time, you are listening to the Legacy After the Locker Room podcast. Our guest today, Dr. Ray Perkins, NFL alumni. We are powered by Stables Media in partnership with the Sports Philanthropy Network and sponsored by Vidget, the social sports app. You can download that for free using promo code STABLES. Ray, parting words in a minute or less to our audience to inspire them with hope and possibility.
Be encouraged. Well, I say to all the viewers and all the listeners, today is February 13, 2021. Tomorrow we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day. For those that have significant other, take the time to make them feel special, just not for the day, but recognize their life work and how they've inputted in you. If you want to be great, serve. Serve your significant other, your blessed one, or if you don't, serve one of your friends. Serve others tomorrow, and that is the best. That is the greatest gift you can give, is a gift of love, right? That might come monetarily, it might come with gifts, whatever it is. It might just be a smile or just a phone call or a very nice text saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you today. Happy Valentine's Day." It's a day of love. We should celebrate every day for love and let our loved ones know that, hey, I love you and we're here, because we don't know how much time we have here. But again, my goal is to make a difference while I'm here. I want people to recognize that I was here, and the world should be a better place. That's not my goal. It should be everyone's goal. The world should be a better place because you are here. And let's do our part.
That is an amazing, powerful message from a powerful man.
Thank you.
And we are so blessed to have you on, Ray. Again, thank you so much for being here. My name is Kayla Bradham, and I'm reminding you to live your legacy. Thank you, Ray.
God bless, Kayla. Thanks, listeners and viewers. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.